So, this whole thing going on with Israel. I've seen a lot of takes on it so far. And the main thing I agree with is that whatever happens from here, more or less, Israel is just going to completely flatten Hamas. Now, I don't know how long that's going to take. I don't know how thorough that's going to be. There's talk about the United States getting involved, that we have American hostages. There's talk about how Joe Biden gave Iran $6 billion not long before this, giving them the opportunity to free up $6 billion that they would have otherwise used to buy food, to buy weapons. There's also talk that Joe Biden freed up $75 million to Palestine for humanitarian aid. Legally, mind you. Meanwhile, the southern border is wide open, and places like Iran, Afghanistan, hate America and love sending terrorists in. Now, Saudi Arabia, a bunch of their citizens were involved in 9/11, and they caught over 100 terrorists on the southern border so far. Which, see, there's two arguments for that. One, they weren't showing up under Trump, or somehow Border Patrol were missing them. Unlikely. There are probably a few that got through. But the Department of Homeland Security is specifically designed, in theory, to deal with people who slip through the cracks. Meanwhile, Joe Biden basically opened up the entire border, meaning that these guys are at least becoming more bold, and that the stupider ones are the ones being caught, or the ones that are just incredibly unlucky. Which means that the Department of Homeland Security is now going to have a whole host of issues trying to track down someone who has slipped through the cracks, gone through the net. Do I support Hamas, Palestine, or do I support Israel and the Jews? Obviously, I support Israel. Hamas is just a straight up terrorist state. Is that Palestinian part of this? Probably not. I'm pretty sure the 1-year-old babies and the 2-year-old babies aren't like going all death to America over there. There's innocents on this side, on that side of the war. So that's the first thing. Do I think the United States should fund it? No. Specifically because Israel has already got everything they need to deal with this situation. We've been giving them money every year for decades. So has a lot of other people in Europe. And they have plenty of resources in order to deal with this. Now, if you want to donate your own personal money, if you want to send first aid kits, fine. But this is not Ukraine. Like, there's a gun for every person in Israel. They got enough helmets, they got enough body armor, they got everything they need. Now, defense contract purchases are going to go up, and Israel's probably going to go into a little bit of debt. That's fine, because the United States is in plenty of debt, and if there's such a situation that Israel is going to go bankrupt, the United States is going to bail it out regardless. With Ukraine and Russia, Ukraine is the small guy in the fight who needs support. In the fight between Israel and Palestine, specifically Hamas, but again, Palestine is controlled by Hamas, so there's an overlap there. Palestine is definitely the small guy in the fight. Our guys are going to get involved in order to get more prisoners or hostages out of there. That's going to happen regardless. Now, as for Saudi Arabia going in, that's not going to happen. Saudi Arabia was just negotiating a basic peace deal. Places like Morocco, Egypt, Niger are not going to get involved. Morocco, under the Abraham Accords, made permanent peace with Israel, at least permanent enough as it is, in exchange for West Sahara. That was the deal under Trump. Niger is in the middle of a civil war. Nigeria is also in a bit of a civil war, but they're also like minority Christian. They're not going to get involved. And then you got Iran, Lebanon, Jordan, Afghanistan, Iraq. Iraq's not going to get involved. They're busy with their terrorist problem, so they're probably not going to be happy with more terrorists, depending. They're also busy with the Kurds, and they're busy with Turkey. Lebanon's probably not going to get involved just because they're so outmatched in that fight that they would basically be signing their own death warrant. Afghanistan is offering to get into the fight, but they're also dealing with terrorist problems in the form of ISIS-K, or ISIL, whichever one you want to refer them by. And they're in a very precarious position because a lot of the Afghan Republic Army, a lot of them surrendered, disbanded, hid, were killed, as were a lot of the people who served or helped America. But there are survivors who went into neighboring, how is it, Pakistan? No, I don't think it's Pakistan. God, I can't remember it off the top of my head. It's the country directly to the east. Now there's like 3 of those, so is Pakistan gonna get involved? Hell no. They don't have the forces to spare. They have to keep their military preoccupied with any issues erupting with India. Now they're a nuclear power, so they can theoretically draw down on the border because India is also a nuclear power. There's mutually assured destruction there. But that's not really going to happen. They're too far away. Yemen's not going to get involved, obviously. None of the smaller countries, like the United Arab Emirates, especially. Got Oman, which is not going to get involved. Too small. Even if they did, it wouldn't matter. Then you got Kuwait, not going to get involved. And so that really just leaves Jordan and Iran. But Israel has nukes. They have at least one. Iran doesn't have nukes, as far as we're aware. Unless they want to be the first country since Japan to get nuked, or to risk being nuked, they're not going to get involved. In theory. But they're probably supplying arms and food and whatever else they need. It's a proxy war. So that really just leaves Jordan, as far as I'm concerned. And they've been awfully quiet about it. That's concerning. But if it's just them and Hamas, plus some arms coming from probably Ukraine, because there's Chechen Islamic extremists fighting on the side of the Ukrainians. Yes, that's a fact. There's 2 Chechen battalions fighting with Ukraine. One is there to just hurt Russia and to possibly free Chechnya in the future. As far as I'm aware, that battalion is not extremist. The other battalion is actually Islamic extremist. The classic Chechen extremists. That's just the way of the world. So, yeah, they're probably helping to facilitate arms going towards Palestine. They're also getting aid from Afghanistan. They are getting weapons that Joe Biden left behind in Afghanistan. And then they're getting arms from Iran. Any other terrorists in the world that can get there and help out, I'm sure they're getting there. So look, what's going on right now? Hundreds and hundreds are dead. Israel can fight this fight on their own. They're completely capable of it. If you want to send your own money, fine. But now we have to worry here in the United States about terrorist attacks again. This is a hard fact in life, okay? You have to remember that. You also have to remember that just because of what Israel is going through doesn't mean that we have to protect them. While at the same time realizing that it's okay to say that they're the good guys in the fight. While it's also okay to say that a lot of innocent Palestinians are going to die in this fight. That's war. It's just war. Okay? This is like the issues I have whenever people talk about Iraq. Like, I will never apologize, ever, that Saddam Hussein died. I won't. Did a lot of innocent Afghanis die? Yes. But when people say 1 million innocent Afghanis died, a lot of those people were in the military. They were fighting for their country as our people were fighting for our country. Iraqis. I've been saying Afghanis, but a lot of innocent Afghanis died when we invaded them too. The Taliban supported Al-Qaeda, I don't give a shit what their name is. I don't. Okay? They're terrorists. But when they say 1 million Iraqis died, a lot of those people were people who were serving in the military. Did we botch rebuilding Iraq, setting up a new government, whatever, right? Yes, we botched it. We botched Afghanistan in the same way. We pulled out too early. Obama abandoned all those small villages, allowing the Taliban to get in there and to continue to recruit so that their numbers never actually fell. Did we give little girls basketball? Yeah, sure. Did we teach Afghani soldiers how to read and write? Sure. But we didn't finish that fight. For Palestine and Israel, they're neighbors. The two-state system has failed multiple times. Hamas is probably going to get wiped off the map. Again, I don't know how thorough it's going to be. And a lot of innocent Palestinians are going to die. I hate it. Like, I don't want this to be happening. But Hamas made a choice for Palestine. And even if a lot of the Palestinians don't agree, those people who don't agree are going to be used as human shields. So what are you expecting the Israelis to do? Because if they don't do something, everyone else is going to get involved and invade, thinking that they're weak. Or Hamas is just going to build up another 5,000 rockets and do it again in 10 years. Like, there's no good solutions here, man. This is war. Am I happy that Biden is sending an entire fleet to Israel right now? Well, supposedly, we have American citizens been taken hostage, but he's the one who sent $6 billion to Iran. Supposedly, he sent $75 million to Palestine. He's so weak, so pathetic, that they thought they could get away with this. They thought they could get away with invading Ukraine, and they are getting away with it. They thought they could get away with launching 5,000 rockets at Israel. And China might think that they can get away with invading Taiwan. So what we got to do is get a strong president back in the office. The last time I checked, under Bush Sr., under Bush Jr., under Clinton, under Biden, and under Obama, wars kept happening. New wars kept happening. There's one person where a new war didn't happen, and that's Trump. It's Trump. You might be like, oh, we can get DeSantis in. He's basically Trump. Or we can get Nikki Haley in. Nikki Haley is a warmonger. Okay? And I would be remiss to say that I'm not slightly a warmonger. Very slightly, I probably am a warmonger. Because if I would love for every dictator in the world to get what's coming to them. But it's just not feasible to take down every single one of them. A lot of times, the people have to take down the dictators. And they don't always have what is necessary to do it. It takes generations to do it. We should stop trading with China because they're committing 5 different genocides. Talk about that some other time before I get too out of topic here. Palestinians either support Hamas or are not capable of taking them down. Well, now that follows Israel. Because it's a war. A lot of people are going to die, man. A lot of people are going to die. We got so many of our own citizens dying of fentanyl from China, from this weak border. Joe Biden is the one causing all those people to die because he refuses to secure this border. People think DeSantis is going to get in and he's going to make everything better. He's going to be Trump 2.0 and he's going to... Listen, this guy has been so bad on the campaign field. He's got no strategy. He's just terrible on the campaign field. And he is getting a lot of his money from high rollers that are going to want favors. Trump isn't owned by anyone. He is the only candidate who is able to fund his entire campaign by himself. And yet, millions upon millions of Americans are giving him small-time donations anyways because of all these BS indictments. Now, I can go on a whole rant about all of those, too. I can go on a whole rant about why we need to get Trump back in. Specifically to smack down any other person who thinks they can get away with trying to throw a former president in jail. We didn't even throw Jefferson Davis in jail. He was put on house arrest, but he didn't get life in prison. He didn't get executed. There's people that were online calling for the execution of Donald Trump. Why? No idea. I guess they're afraid of him. I know some of the reasons why. And what they think he deserves. What they think he did. I'm not going to get into it. Look. Anyone out there in the world who's like who talks about Bloomberg or talks about Soros, you know, big Jewish money, right? That kind of anti-Semitic stuff. Can't believe I have to get into this. Soros has admitted that he is an atheist. His mother was anti-Jewish. He served as a child to take away the property of Jews that had been... Their property was being taken away by those wacky Germans during the time. I'm not going to say it because YouTube don't like it, but you know who I'm talking about. Soros is not a Jew. He's of Jewish ancestry, but he's not a Jew. Hillary Clinton, not a Jew. Bill Clinton, not a Jew. Joe Biden, not a Jew. Obama, not a Jew. Mark Zuckerberg, pretty sure he's Christian. But there's a lot of people involved in this globalist agenda who are not Jewish. Okay? There's a lot of people. I actually got people like telling me, it's like, well, you're supporting the enemy by supporting Israel. It's like, no. Civilians, the civilian Israelis that are dying are not my enemy. And say what you will about Israel and the things they've done in the past. I don't agree that they were going out and killing some of those wacky Germans from World War II who were staying in other countries extrajudicially. I don't really appreciate that. They should have negotiated with the countries involved and had them sent home for trial. Instead, they were sending people in and just killing them and killing their families. At the end of World War II, there were 2 incidents where a bunch of Jewish people tried to poison the water supply of a local dam to kill as many Germans as they possibly could as revenge. I don't support that either. And I didn't support something else they did. They tried to bake bread with cyanide in it in order to kill a bunch of German POWs, which I also don't agree with. In Israel, had they been taking Palestinian land? Yes. Can you say it's justified given all the terrorist attack? Maybe. That the deals that they've been doing, that they've been oppressing the Arab population, the Muslim population there? Arguably, yes. The war goes both ways. And the common saying is that if Hamas gave up and chose peace, there would be peace. Whereas Israel gave up and chose peace, they would be annihilated. And we've seen that with all the executions going on. They're just killing random people. And supposedly, because there's been some contradicting reports, so I'm not 100% sure, that the German woman who was captured was also half Israeli. Maybe she wasn't German, maybe she wasn't killed. I mean, we saw her in the back of the pickup truck, and we don't need that specific story involved in this, because we know that there was a concert for peace on the border and hundreds were killed when the Palestinians, or Hamas, whichever one you want to say, not all Palestinians, yeah, opened fire on the crowd. It is what it is, man. It's okay to say that Israel is in the right. It's also okay to say that, hey, a lot of Palestinians are going to die because they're going to be used as human shields. Our job right now is to make sure Israel doesn't go too far. That's it. Because a lot of people, Israel might do something that they regret. That's going to make relationships worse with all the Arab countries nearby. They're probably going to wipe out Hamas, but if they start throwing people in the camps or anything, BS like that, well, I hope not. I hope they learn from World War II. But we just got to make sure they don't go too far. And we don't need to be sending them money, okay? If you want to donate your own money, fine, but we have other problems. We got the border to deal with. We got thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of Americans dying every year that don't need to be dying every year because of Joe Biden's policies. We have to be fighting these stupid indictments against Donald Trump. We got so many things to worry about right now. And I just got a text message saying support Israel. You're going to get text messages. Make sure that if you support Israel, you're sending it to a donation site that actually is going to send money to Israel, and it's going to send the majority of the money to Israel. Otherwise, you don't know where it's going to go. It might go to Democrat campaigns. It might go to actual terrorists to support them instead. Make sure you're actually paying attention to where you're sending the money to, okay? I mean, I can talk in circles about this all day, but that's the long and short of it, man. We got to deal with our own problems. Israel can deal with this just fine. We're going to be selling them plenty of stuff. They might go into debt. Don't worry about it. If they go so far into debt that they actually need financial aid, they're going to get financial aid. There's so many allies that are going to back them on this, okay? As for the conspiracy theories, I'm not going to get into it, okay? I like to believe in people. I like to believe that there wasn't that they didn't choose to allow hundreds of their own citizens to be murdered in order to justify this. But Joe Biden, he's letting thousands of more people die every year, supposedly to bring in all these illegals to deal with our demographics crisis. Just go have kids, man. I know it's expensive, but you're going to be able to get help, okay? We don't need it. We need government programs to help encourage people to have kids, okay? We don't need all the illegals. We don't need all our citizens dying. We don't need to start another war, okay? Because small wars can build into something way bigger. And we don't want a cascade effect where, there's a lot of wars going on right now, and we don't want them to cascade into a new world war. I'm just hoping that despite the incompetence of Joe Biden, that China does not invade Taiwan, because if that happens, that's World War. We're getting involved no matter what, because there's no other choice at that point. I'm just saying, man. Just hope that we get Trump back in. I'm just going in circles, so yeah, that's all I gotta say about it. Israel can deal with it. Okay.